Hey guys, my name is HeroGollum. Last year, my buddy Grant from Learning and I partnered up to do some Venom VFX tutorials, which began with a face transformation effect. You can find that on his channel and in the description. We finally tackled the full Venom transformation effect, and along with this, I'll be releasing my Venom model on TurboSquid for $6 for Cinema 4D. If you're thinking about purchasing the model, this video is here to show you how it works. That way, you know exactly what you get. Here, I've recorded a time-lapse of creating a Venom render, from the pose, the lighting, the rendering to post-production, and I'll talk over it to help you know what's going on. In this video, for reference, I'll be recreating this image of Hot Toys' Venom 80th anniversary figure, to give you an idea of what I'm going for, loosely. The first part of the process will be the posing of the skeleton. A little tip for posing the head: it's up to you whether you choose to rotate the neck or the head, or both joints. It depends on the look you're going for, as it will shorten or extend how close the head is to the shoulders. The arms are controlled with upper and lower shoulder joints. The upper shoulder joint should always support the lower shoulder's rotation. But with that being said, it's important to be gentle with it, or you could run into some crazy skin deformations. Obviously, you only want to rotate the elbows forwards on their appropriate axis. There's also a joint for the wrist twist that can be used to support the rotation of the wrist itself, to avoid skinning errors. I'm going to use a perspective camera for this render, as opposed to an orthographic one. This is so I can properly capture depth with that reaching hand pose. With that being said though, I'll increase the focal length to balance it out. The fingers are pretty simple to pose. Each has 3 joints and is naturally curled. That way you don't have to worry about posing each joint for every render. We can pose the eyes, the tongue, and the gums with the Venom null in the library. I recommend going wild and experimenting here, as I like to think the eyes are quite expressive. To extend the tongue, use the tongue offset control, naturally set to 37%, and raise the tongue by lowering the tongue height slider to avoid clipping with the teeth. There are small handles on the tongue that you can use to pose it. The yellow and green handles, however, cannot be posed, as they are held in position for the tongue height slider. Because Venom's materials are so reflective, I always recommend using a high dynamic range map for the sky. There are some great HDR plugins that you can purchase online. For the sake of this tutorial, I'm just going to use Cinema 4D's material preview reflection and add a few alterations. I'll drop this onto a default sky and add a compositing tag. I'll then uncheck Scene by Camera. I'll now add my render settings on so I can preview this. Firstly, I'll change the renderer to physical and add an ambient occlusion. In the physical tab, change the sampler from adaptive to progressive, and of course don't forget to check alpha channel in the save tab. Now I'll add my Omni lights. For this render, I'll remain relatively tame and stick to whites and light blues, and I'll use soft shadowing for each of them. Having seen the render, I'm now just going to reposition the tongue. You may find that the tongue flips over when posing it, or it rotates awkwardly, but thankfully there's an easy fix for this. Click the tongue, which is a sweep object, and raise or lower the rotation bar. Now I'm going to make some softboxes. I don't think this render needs them, but many do, and so I'll show you how to make them for that sake. I suppose softboxes are mainly important for global illumination, but I use them since Venom is so reflective. For softboxes, I simply use a plane with an illuminated material. I use the same compositing tag as the sky, but in hindsight, I recommend unchecking cast shadows. You don't have to, but I tend to use depth of field in my renders, so I'll turn it on in the physical tab. I now let this sit for a good half an hour before stopping it, but that depends on the size of the render. Here we are in Photoshop. First things first, I'll use the liquify tool to fix up any skinning errors. I find this is necessary as there are no muscle simulations going on. Then I'll use the camera raw filter to color correct. For the background, I'll use just a dark gradient, which I believe will make the model appear more salient. I'll use Photoshop's clouds for a subtle smoke effect too. And here we are. This collaboration was an absolute blast, let alone an honor. Chances are you're coming from Film Learning's channel, but if not, please check him out. He's a great guy and his tutorials are excellent. If you want to purchase the model, the link is in the description, and if you do, feel free to show me what you make with it. I'm on Twitter, DeviantArt, and Instagram. All the links are below. Thank you very much for watching.